This is a quick review for your semester exam. I mentioned that we would probably do something like this, and so I want you to understand that what happens with your semester exam is it's actually a random selection exam. So it will go through and pull out a lot of questions. This is in no way telling you exactly what's on your exam. We won't know until it's all randomly selected. All the questions from your exam are possible questions that came from previous tests. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through some questions that have seemed to come up pretty often on the random review, and this is just a great opportunity for you to review for your test. You will have a lot of questions on your test. Once again, the bad news is there's lots of questions. The good news is they only count half a point apiece. So that sounds pretty easy. You can miss 20 and still make an A. That sounds good. The only thing is if you don't study for this test, there's so many questions, you could really drop your grade on this test really low. So be sure and study. So what I would recommend is I'm going to go through and read a ton of questions. These are questions that have been on past tests. It's kind of a combination of the last 2 or 3 years tests. So what you might want to do is you might want to just go through and whenever you hear something you know, you're like, good, I got that, I got that, I got that. And then as soon as you hear something you don't know, you can stop the tape, write that down, and then when you get done, you can go look those up. It takes a while to make index cards over all the ones you know. You might want to make yourself practice questions over the ones you don't know. Or another way to study would be to go through this tape and then try to answer as many as you can, write down the ones you don't know, and then go back and watch it again and answer them all again. So this is going to be pretty good cross-section of questions that could be on your test. Once again, I'm not saying that all the questions that I give you are on the test, or I'm not saying that there's not other material that's on the test that I don't read to you today. But let's go through these and let's just try to see what we know here. So I'm going to read them fairly rapidly here, and once again, these are questions that have been on the last couple of years' test. So here we go. Let's shake, rattle, and roll. What is an Erlenmeyer flask used for? What is a crucible used for? List the 6 steps of the scientific method in order. What is a theory? Name the 2 main components of an experiment. Upon which axis is the independent variable placed on a scientific graph? What is the metric unit of volume? What is the metric unit for energy? What is the metric unit for force? What is the metric unit for pressure? Why should a measurement be reported as 18.0 centimeters instead of 18 centimeters? Perform the following calculations using correct significant figures. 6.4 centimeters times 2.2 centimeters. Now remember on that one, since it's 6.4 times 2.2, it's going to be to 1 decimal place. 64 grams divided by 1.60 centimeters. So once again, we're not worried about the units, but since it's 64 grams, your answer couldn't have any decimal places. All right, and then the melting point of tin is reported to be 503.11 Kelvin. You measure it as 501.9 Kelvin. What was your absolute error, and then what was your percent error? What do the following metric prefixes equal? Centa, milli, giga, and micro. What is the formula for density? How many meters are equal to 54.10 centimeters? And once again, you may get similar problems with different numbers. These are just numbers to practice. How many milligrams are equal to 3.54 grams? What is a meniscus and how is it read? What does the atomic number tell us about an element? What is an element? List the 3 subatomic particles and their respective charges. Describe the following atoms, telling the number of neutrons, electrons, and protons. Hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, water. Compare and contrast. In other words, tell the difference between homogeneous and heterogeneous. Give an example of an extensive property of a substance. List the 3 phases of matter. What is condensation? What is sublimation? List 2 of the 4 main physical properties of metals. State the law of conservation of matter. Every element has a chemical blank that begins with a blank letter. Okay, every element has a chemical what? There's a fill in the blank that begins with another fill in the blank letter. So every element has a chemical symbol that begins with a capital letter. Here we go. What is the science definition for energy? What is the formula for work? Draw the three main parts of any chemical reaction. And we always try to make that one too hard, okay? It's always reactants, yields, products. What is exothermic? The Kelvin temperature scale is also known as what? What is the science definition for a calorie? And then here's a mathematical problem that you might have. A 2,000 gram mass of water in a calorimeter has its temperature raised to 2.0 degrees Celsius while an exothermic chemical reaction is taking place. How much heat is transferred to the water by the heat of the reaction? Show your work. Remember that the specific heat of water is 4.18. Draw an outline of the periodic table and label the three main classifications of the elements. How do unlike charges react to each other? Draw and label the three parts of a wave. What is meant by the term continuous spectrum? Name and draw the three isotopes of hydrogen. Remember, that's the one that had to do with the nuclear bomb, too. It had tritium as one of the three types. Draw the symbol for an isotope of carbon with 18 neutrons. What is a positively charged ion called? What are valence electrons? What are the names of the 4 electron orbital shells? What is the pH of a base? What does pH actually measure? What does diatomic mean? Compare quantitative and qualitative analysis. What is meant by the term empirical formula? What are ternary compounds? List the chemical prefixes for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Name the following. HCl, capital H, capital C, little l. NH3, NaCl, FeO, CaCO3, Pb2SO3, KOH, capital C, O. What is the chemical formula for sulfuric acid, for propane, for benzene, for lead dioxide, and for calcium iodide? And once again, that's just some rough examples. You may get some of those, you may have some others. These are just good ones to practice. What do the letters in laser stand for? How does a laser work? Calculate the gram molecular mass for water, for 3 moles of hydrochloric acid. What does STP stand for? What is the percent composition of oxygen in water? What is the percent of each element in sulfuric acid? State Newton's third law of motion. Write the skeleton reaction for a double replacement reaction. What is the symbol for aqueous? What is the symbol for a precipitant? Balance the following chemical equation and tell what type of reaction it is. NaCl yields Na plus Cl2. Balance and tell what type of reaction it is. Write a combination reaction for the production of ammonia. Combination reaction for the production of ammonia. Nitrogen plus 3 hydrogens yields NH3. What is a catalyst? All right, we're getting closer. Describe the kinetic energy of molecules in a liquid. Describe the kinetic energy of molecules in a solid. What is the relationship to temperature and the kinetic energy of molecules? And right away you're going, that's directly proportional. Draw a temperature versus time graph for water from ice to boiling. What is the formula for kinetic energy? What is meant by the term equilibrium? Show Boyle's equation for gases. Write the combined gas law. Write the ideal gas law. What are the 3 primary factors in determining the characteristics of gases? All right. Draw and label a distillation setup. Now, here's a problem that we might have on the test. It's the bicycle pump one from the pressure calculations. When extended, a bicycle pump has a volume of 0.852 cubic centimeters at standard pressure, which is 101.3 pascals. What is its pressure when the bicycle pump is compressed to a new volume of 0.224 cubic centimeters? Temperature remains constant. Show all your work to get the credit. So once again, go back to your notes. We have the temperature, pressure, and volume reactions for the for the gas law. So it's a good chance you'll get the bicycle pump one on your test. Now that's just a rough. That's a bunch of questions, and we went through them pretty fast. That's a pretty good review. I don't want you to have to go through and study all your notes from beginning to end. What I did was I picked out things that were in cross sections there. So once you see those, you're kind of like, oh, I think I know that concept. I think I know that concept. So good luck studying, and your test is coming up, and I look forward to grading them. Good luck on all your studying.